taking this video to just make a short project. Today we're going to be making a bookmark that's kind of similar to these, where it's like a paperclip, and it'll be a sword version. Okay, so I'm back again here with a blank design page on Fusion 360, and as always I'm going to start with a sketch on the top face. Now, since we know that we want our sword to be symmetric for the bookmark, I'm going to start again with a center line. I'm going to set the dimension of this line to 70 since I know I want my bookmark to be 7 centimeters tall. And I'm also going to go ahead and make this a center line, clicking on the line with 2 fingers to open this menu and then selecting center line. Okay, now the first thing we're going to do in this sketch is we're just going to try and draw half of the sword on this side. We'll mirror it afterwards. So I'm going to go ahead and draw, let's see, we'll start with the blade part of it. It'll go a little bit inwards for mine, and you can design it how you'd like. And then I'll try going on to the hilt. Let's see. And you can always stop the line somewhere in the middle too, just to see how it looks. And I know I want the top to be on the 70 line, so I'm just going to drop, let's see, I'm just going to try and drop a line between this end of our center line and my sketch. Also, just as I'm looking at it, I noticed there are a couple constraints that I don't really need, so I'm going to go ahead and click these parallel line constraints and delete it. And let's see, I also have a 90-degree constraint. I'm going to delete this one. And this one looks fine because it's keeping, once we click it, we'll notice it's keeping this line and this line at 90 degrees, which is what I want. So that one can stay. Let's also make this one horizontal. So just looking at our sketch right now, it looks pretty good, but I'm going to go ahead and edit the shape a little bit more. So yeah, just so I like it. You can do the same and just go ahead and make half of the sword. One more thing I'm actually going to do is I'm going to try to line up this point with this point at the top. So we can do that using the vertical constraint and just by clicking these 2 points. You notice now they're lined up. Once we have roughly the shape that we want, we'll go ahead and use the mirror tool and we'll click. You can either click through the lines like this, or you can drag across the screen over your whole shape and select it. You'll notice that doesn't always get everything, so then you'll have to go in and click some of the other lines as well. Once you have all your lines and points selected, click OK. And it's a little bit hard to see here, but now you'll notice we have our sword shape. I'm just going to go ahead and edit it a little bit more, just to clean up the shape a little bit. Now that I'm pretty happy with this shape, I'm going to go ahead and add some of my dimensions. So one of the dimensions I need is this minimum thickness, so 4 is alright. And then another one I'm going to need is this maximum thickness. I think I'll try, let's see what 7.5 looks like. That looks pretty good to me. Actually, we might make it a little bit smaller, and I'll show you why in a second. So let's try 6. 6 looks pretty good. Next, I guess we can go in, the height is already constrained, so we'll just look for anything else where we have to add dimensions. One could be this angle. Oops, I selected the wrong one, so I'm gonna go back and delete this dimension. But what I want to do is select this line, and that'll allow us to choose the angle. 160 looks pretty good. And yeah, so we'll just go ahead and try to add these different dimensions for different parts. I'll also add a dimension for how far down the hill it should be. And we'll notice this angle still isn't perfectly constrained, so I'll click these two lines and choose the angle for it. 140 looks good. And yeah, you'll see as you add the constraints, the line should become black, and any of the blue ones still aren't completely constrained, so we'll just have to pick a few more angles for that. Angles, just pick a few more angles and a few more lengths. And if you ever get the sketch is over constrained message, you can always stop there as well. Let's see. Okay, now that I have a very, very constrained sketch, it might look a little bit messy. You can always stretch out the dimensions and try to make it a bit better, but this should work for us. And now what I'm gonna go ahead and do is finish this. What I'm going to do, actually one more step before this, is right now we have the inside part of our bookmark. But for this bookmark to clip onto our page, we're going to need one more section that's like a border around here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to select these lines, and I'm going to see if I can make a border using the offset feature. So let's flip the direction and try to make a border on the outside. I'll give it a distance of, let's say 2 millimeters. In between, we can try that for now, and then I'm going to also do an offset of this on the other side, and I'll make this 2 millimeters as well. This is looking pretty good to me, and the last thing I'm just going to do right here is, this might break some of our dimensions, but I'm going to go ahead and use this snipping tool and see if I can cut the line in between. There we go. I used the snipping tool and I was able to cut this line that was between these two sections. Now I'm just going to zoom in and make sure all of our points are connected. It seems like these aren't exactly on the same line, but since they're touching each other, it's also okay. And yeah, here we have many different shapes, and we're going to be cutting out this one. So I'll click Finish Sketch. And right now, I'll show you what to do with this. We're going to take the extrude tool, and I'm going to select this piece, not the section on the inside, just the outside, and I'm going to extrude it. Let's say we want it to be a bookmark, so 2 millimeters is quite good. You can also go with, you could go lower, but for our printer I think 2 is going to be good. So click OK. And yes, this will give us the shape. Now, we can just go ahead and add the designs we'd like, but let's see. One thing we notice here is that we have a lot of sharp edges, so what we can do is we can go ahead and use the fillet tool if we'd like, and without changing the shape too much, we can always go ahead and try to round out some of these smaller edges. So I'm just going to go ahead and select our edges. One makes it a little bit too dull, so I'm going to go with, let's say 0.4, and I'm also going to go ahead and just do these edges as well. Maybe this one can be 0.3, and yeah, that looks quite good to me. we might just go ahead and do these ones if we'd like to. Okay. Now, just for fun, we can also add a few embellishments. So what I'm going to do is start a sketch on the top face of this body. And one thing I want to do is maybe I'll add some designs to the hilt. So one thing I can do is I can select these lines, including the filleted parts. It might be a little bit hard to select, but you can just zoom in and try to click on the corner. And I'm gonna see if I can offset this and make it a little bit smaller. That looks quite good. Maybe I'll do I think I'll go with 0.7 and see how that looks. And now I can also make a bit of a design on this section. Now with this section of the sword, I'm going to try to do something similar by taking these corners and doing the offset again. I'll do something similar on this side. You could also always, of course, mirror this, mirror the design from one side to the other. But I'm going to try doing it this way. By selecting each of these edges and offsetting again. Looks like one of my points may not have snapped perfectly to the other one, so I'm just going to go ahead and adjust that a little bit. Let's see. And I'm just going to go ahead and add those dimensions in. Looks pretty good to me. One more design that I might want to add is a center line down the sword. I think that looks quite good. And I'm going to click Finish Sketch. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look at these shapes and see if I can extrude any of these parts. So the first one we can obviously do with the extrude tool are these two inner shapes that we created. And we can just extrude them down slightly, so I'm going to do 0.3 and see we already have the design. Now you'll notice that our last sketch disappeared, but I still want to do something with this inner face. You'll notice I'm having a hard time selecting that face, so what I can do is reopen the sketch, and since this isn't like a face by itself, what I can do is press P and project this edge and this edge and see if it helps me make a face. So I've made those two edges, and let's see. I'll zoom in and see if there's any corners missing. It looks like this part is missing, so I'll have to go in and project that as well. And since I snapped this line to the very bottom, it looks like it's not creating a face with just this area. So what I can do is I can go to create and I can add another point right on this edge. You'll see it shows the triangle mark because it's snapping into the middle. And now that should help me connect these two pieces, and I can also of course project this small edge. Now it looks like something at the top may not be fully connected. And here we see this edge isn't really at the top, it's not connected to the top section, so what I can do is start a point and drag it outwards. and allow it to snap onto this line. So now we have a face that we can use. There are many different ways to clean up the sketch, but one tip is you might just have to zoom in and see if you can project a couple of the edges. So we'll finish sketch, and now I'm going to take the extrude tool, and now I can slightly put this down and give our source some shape. I can also make this sketch invisible now. Looking at our sword, I'm pretty happy with this, so this is where I'm going to stop, but feel free to keep designing and adding different cuts, and yeah, just drawing as you please.